Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Tech Talk. And a happy GIS Day to everyone from Geosys Enterprise Solutions Private Limited. And we are going to start our Geographic Awareness Week from this Saturday to next Saturday. And the list of events would be communicated to you. And in today's GIS Day, Geographic Awareness Week Tech Talk, we are going to present you a topic on resolve business challenges using GIS. And I'm Janki Gattu, and I'm working with Geosys Enterprise Solutions Private Limited, and we are an ISO 9001 and 2015 certified organization and an ISRI partner company. And the agenda for today is we're going to see how we can solve business challenges using GIS. And what we are going to discuss today is about the GISD and why do we celebrate it in the Geographic Awareness Week. And we're going to see how we can implement location strategy to support geocentric workflows and activities. And how we can maximize the operational efficiencies, and we can see like various applications and their use cases. And enhance the activities and improve the decision making by relying on GIS based products, data, and its applications. Once again, welcome you all to GIS Day celebrations at Geosys Enterprise Solutions Private Limited. And let's see what is a GIS Day and why do we celebrate it. GIS Day is basically an annual event that is celebrated throughout the world about the geographic information systems, about the location intelligence or the modern technologies that has come up. And basically in this we will be concentrating on spatial analytics and how it is being used by various industries, various people at various levels, and how the decision making plays a prime role in using GIS in a day-to-day life. And initially the first GIS Day was conducted in 1999, and this was actually initiated by a person called Ralph Nader along with the ISRI President Jack Dangermond. And why this GIS Day is being celebrated is various industry peoples will be working on various applications to solve various business problems in different scenarios. And so in order to share the knowledge with other people and in order to learn from others, this GIS Day is being celebrated, so that we share the information and we collaborate with other teams, other organizations, and we share the knowledge. And in today's GIS Day, normally the GIS technology is being demonstrated in how the real world applications are using GIS to make a difference in the society. So what basically this GIS professionals do on a GIS Day is they celebrate the work that they have done for the number of years. So it is basically an opportunity for every GIS professional to showcase their work, to demonstrate their work with various users, and to understand the gaps and to share their knowledge, what they have done and what they have learned in their application process, in their journey. Everything can be shared by celebrating the GIS, by celebrating your GIS work. And the second thing is you can show the benefits of using GIS not only for the GIS professionals but also for non-traditional GIS users, because GIS is not a subject, it is basically an integrated technology where it is impacting everyone's life. And in each and every discipline, now GIS is playing a vital role. So people are still not aware of its power, how location intelligence is playing a vital role in solving the business problems. So in order to showcase the benefits of GIS, you celebrate GIS Day. And every map, whatever we create, either to solve a business problem or to enhance an operational efficiency or to tell a story, every map has a story to tell. And each story will have an impact on the industry or the community in which we are living. So GIS will help you to communicate very easily the complex problems which you will not be able to demonstrate in terms of words, or else it will take a lot of time for us to communicate. And maps are the easiest way to communicate with people and to showcase how much of impact these maps will make in everyone's life. And the fourth one, which every GIS professional do on a GIS day, is they share their knowledge with their community, and they also try to learn from others. So in today's TikTok, we are going to see how we can implement location strategy to support geocentric workflows and activities, and what kind of industries are using GIS, and what kind of problems do they have, and what is the kind of workflow they're using to solve those problems. Nowadays, we are talking about location strategy, but initially we only have a GIS strategy when the GIS has started up. And GIS basically, it's been in the world most popularly for the past 4 decades, and in the past 5 years, like you have seen an exponential growth in GIS and how it is impacting lives of every individual. And earlier, GIS is being used by many colleges, universities, and few companies and governments. And what they used to do is they used to capture the GIS information, and they used to maintain it in databases or enterprise systems, and they used to share the data and location and perform various kinds of analysis. Now, in today's world, there is a lot of data. We are dealing with big data, we are dealing with sensors, we are dealing with IoT. So there is a lot of data that is coming up, and it would be very difficult, like for anyone to store it on a local desktop machine and to analyze it. As such, now people are going on a broader network, which is on a distributed network, where they can reach more people. As such, they are concentrating more on the location strategy. And this location strategy is helping every individual, every business, every organization, every process-centric organizations to improve their efficiencies. And it is also helping you to understand what kind of problems we have and where the problem is and how we can solve. We can also have a strategy using this location strategy. We can have a strategy to fill in the gaps which we found using our GIS. And what is this location strategy here? And what is the kind of cycle that we need to follow for addressing business problems? First thing is, our Tech Talk topic is today like resolving business challenges using GIS. And what is the role of our location intelligence in solving the business challenges is our today's topic. So here, the main vision of location strategy is to solve business problems or to enhance the business operations, right? So we need to understand the vision of a business, what it is and what it wanted to do, and how it can improve its efficiency and how it can meet its goals. And for which we need to define the success criteria or the definition of done, which means like how close we are to our business vision and how much of effort we are putting in to reach to our vision. Okay, and all this can be done by following a simple cycle which you're seeing here, and for which every business will have some business processes. So everybody has to follow the business processes. Only once it is created, once it is planned and implemented, you will find the deficiencies. When we are into the operational role, we will find the deficiencies in our business processes. So those business processes, the gaps in the business processes can be identified only once we implement it and once it becomes operational. Then we review it, and again we make the changes by placing change requests, and then again if it is approved, then we again plan for a new change, so that it is for our betterment. We improve the business processes using our location strategy, and for which we need a lot of infrastructure, lot of software and hardware equipment, where we are dealing with information technology and the workforce capability. So people who are working with you should also have knowledge on how to use it or how to implement it in a right way. And there will be a lot of things in an organization, a lot of processes in an organization, but there will be some core concepts which has to be taken into consideration. So you have to prioritize what initiatives are important, which will improve the efficiency of an organization, right? So for which we are following an initiative cycle which is divided into 4 steps. One is doing the planning, and then implement what is planned. Once it is implemented, you have to ensure that everybody is following the same, and that becomes an operational work. And once it is operated, you will find the gaps and you have to review the changes, and then again go for an update by planning it, implementing it, operating it, and reviewing it. And when you plan the things, first thing is GIS is a very vast subject, and when you take up a project, you need to have a proper scope, which means you should know what is that they require, what is the deliverable. You need to define it, because if you're not defining it, you keep on working for years and years together, and that is never going to end. So you have to plan your scope of the work in GIS. So once you plan, you need to design the flow, how you are going to work in order to meet your scope or in order to meet your deadlines. And then you're going to prepare yourself accordingly to implement whatever is defined and in order to meet your targets. So as you have defined the scope and you have designed it, you are now ready to build a solution or to build a service or to build a product. So once you start building it, you will get like a lot of errors, or you have to go through a cycle, so where you do a lot of changes, and then finally once you're satisfied, you will go and deploy the service or your application or your product, and then you enable it within the organization. You enable that particular service or product within that particular organization. So once you enable it, now it is no more not a single person, or it is not like 4 or 5 users who are using it. The entire organization or a department is going to use your product or service. And then once you enable it, you start operating, because now the solution is already there in your organization, and everybody should start using that particular solution, where we will be monitoring how the performance is right now, and what kind of performance we are expecting, maybe after 3 months or after 6 months or after any year. So we monitor what is the current condition, and after implementing our solution, we'll see like what kind of operational efficiencies we have achieved. And we need to measure it. Unless and until we measure the success, will not be able to understand how far we were successful, how far we have implemented, how far there is a gap. So we'll not be able to understand unless and until we measure it, right? And we need necessary support to uh, use the solution. And once we monitor it, once we measure it, we will go for a review cycle. We will do the brainstorming. We will see like what are the outcomes, whether it is meeting to our defined scope or not, how much of operational efficiency we have achieved. So we'll be able to review everything here, and you need to train your workforce as well, and you need to set some priorities as well to your workforce during the review cycle. And then during this review cycle, if you find any kind of gaps in your solution or product, then again you make a change request and then go for planning if it is approved, and again you define the scope and you follow the cycle. And this is a cycle which is efficient in building a location strategy solution.
Hello, madam.
And yes, sir.
Please go full screen. Some people may be watching on the mobile, they'll not be able to see anything. Thank you.
So I'm not getting an option here, sir.
Is the present button working?
I'm already like I've already started presenting it, right?
Yeah, now it's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So here, like normally in our initial stages when GIS is being evolving, we have data that is being generated, and over a period of time we have a lot of data that is being generated and that is kept in various databases or the data stores. Now that is the system of record. It is just sitting as a record in our machines, but only very few people are using this data as and when they need, and they're creating solutions out of it. So now this was in the earlier scenario, in the earlier days. Now the current scenario is whatever the data that was there in your machines as a system of record, it has to be utilized. It has to be put into practice. It has to be uh, taken into various applications, and you have to see the real use of the data that has been created. So nowadays the system of record which was there in our offices and all is being transferred to system of engagement, which means using this data we are going to create various kinds of applications or business applications, maybe to sort out a crime related problem within a city, or to find a best location to start a business on a location, and to find out the pattern of weather, right? Any kind of business problems will be able to solve it when you convert the system of record to a system of engagement. And you will have various scenarios or various use cases where we can actually work on the system of engagement. And just engaging the data and creating various applications and seeing how it is being utilized is not enough these days. So you have to know the insights out of it. Only then we can measure what is the success rate. So have to bring all this system of record, system of engagement, and system of insights together in order to be successful. Only by which we can gain the operational efficiencies in any organization or in any kind of business. So if you see here, there are like various scenarios which I have taken a screenshot and which I have kept it here. So first thing is, for any kind of smart community, you have to turn on your GIS, and you have to use the data which is lying as a system of record, as I told you earlier. So now you have to put that into practice and use the data that was created. So here, let us suppose we are going to take a crime data. So what can we do using the crime data? First thing is, you can map the crime data which is there. Second thing is, You can identify where more crimes are taking place. You can generate hotspots so that you can find the patterns or the clusters where more crimes are occurring. You can, by which you can control the um, crime rate within that area. You can enhance more public safety within that area, right? And you can plan various kinds of strategies to avoid crime in that particular area or to minimize crime in that particular area. And special event operations. This is one other case which I wanted to tell you. So special event operations. Let us suppose there was an event, or there was a political event, or there was a movie that has been released, and you see like a lot of crowd in that particular place. So how do you control it? What kind of measures do you need to take in order to control the crowd, in order to enhance the safety of the people, right? And what kind of strategies do you need to keep into practice so that there will be no crime, or there will be uh, there so that everything will be in place. Okay. And like a lot of people, they came to know about GIS during last 2 years when this coronavirus has impacted during the COVID-19. So here, because of this COVID, there are a lot of businesses that has been impacted, and a lot of businesses moved online, right? So, and there is a lot of transformation that has occurred, right? So now, once the COVID-19 is in control, if people have to come back to offices, what kind of strategy do we need to follow? What kind of safety plans do we need to follow? And how can we ensure that the people, whoever is working in the offices, are safe? And how do they commute, right? And what kind of security safety measures have to take place, have to be taken into consideration? So all this kind of problems can be addressed using GIS, which means it is not that nobody is taking care of it. There are processes, but how far it is being implemented and how far is it being improved in order to ensure that there is more sustainability of the processes, right? And apart from this business continuity, you have this vaccine. How many people have taken COVID vaccine? And what is the percentage of people who hasn't taken the vaccine yet? And what would be the kind of impact do we have when people are not vaccinated? And how much of impact would it be there on the businesses? Everything can be evaluated again back with GIS. And once you follow certain process, you can improve the operational efficiency of that particular business. Similarly, like health screening, because nowadays whoever is going back into the office or into shopping malls or into movie theaters or anywhere where there is a lot of crowd, so you have to undergo health screening before you check in there. And here, this there are like automatic sensors which can detect your temperature, and there are like instruments which can measure your temperature, and based on which you can you're permitted into the buildings, right? So your GIS will help you to understand how many people are coming in and how many people are going out, and what kind of impact would it be there, right? And what is the safety plan that you have in that building to ensure that nobody is going to affect again with COVID. So all these kind of measures can be taken into consideration when you use GIS effectively in each and every scenario. First thing is, not having GIS, everybody will have a GIS if you purchase it. But how you implement the solutions, how you solve a business problem will always make a difference. So first thing is, you need to plan, you need to implement it, and you need to operate, and you need to check your results and review it back. So you can enhance your activities using GIS, and there are like various ways in which GIS data is being used these days. One is mapping, telecom and network services, accident analysis and hotspot analysis, urban planning, transport planning. You are seeing like a lot of applications. Only few applications we have listed out here. As you have seen earlier in my slide, you have seen certain applications, and here also you can see certain applications which will help us to use GIS in our day-to-day life. If you see here, citizen problem reporter. So when you see manholes, you can use your mobile application and you can just take a snapshot and you can submit it to the authorities, maybe the roads department, ministry of roads, where they can see like, okay, during the rainy season, like they will at least try, and they will try to set up some public safety measures, or they will have a plan or strategy to close all this during the summer season by having a strategic plan for this. Similarly for um, road closures. So if you're traveling and you need to know like in which the routes are blocked, right? And what is the alternative route, and what is the best way to reach to your destination if this particular road is closed. So all this kind of fleet management can be done using GIS. Similarly, you have a lot of applications like in disasters. So in disasters, GIS is used in a very efficient way, because you have to study the disasters and how much area has it impacted, and how much of people were being impacted, and what is the kind of business loss, and what is the kind of human loss you have, and what is the kind of strategy that you need to follow or your rescue team needs to follow in order to save people from disasters. So all these kind of analysis can be done using GIS software, provided you need to know how to use it more efficiently, and you need to know from where to source the data, because everything runs on the data here on GIS, and your GIS data should be very accurate, or else your complete analysis will go wrong, and whatever strategy or whatever operational efficiencies you're going to follow will not create any kind of impact. The main purpose of GIS is to create an impact on every individual and also on every business. So once you perform various kinds of analysis in different business operations and in different kinds of scenarios, you can use the data or the applications which has been created by your GIS software to improve your decisions on the go. So now I will show you certain applications which will help you to understand what kind of applications generally we would be having and how GIS would be used. Okay. So one second. So everybody is aware that environmental data is very important in planning our better planning for the next generations. So we need to understand how our environment is being affected, and what is the kind of environment in which we are living in, and how we can improve it for the next generations. If we want to do that, we have to have a proper analysis to be done. So what kind of analysis we can do here is, this particular application is telling you about air quality. So if you see here, there are like various colors, and which is mapped across USA state, and you can see like various dots, various colors, and various patterns here. So when you click here, it will show us the air quality in that particular location. So here, if you see, this is basically an application which was created by Esri, and which is made available to every one of us in our Living Atlas. And this application basically monitors the quality of the air. And there are like various, you are seeing these numbers, right? 23, 27, 26, 9, 1, 2, 3. So these are all the basically monitoring stations, air quality monitoring stations, which are there across USA. And these monitoring stations will actually capture how the air quality is there in that particular location, and it will give us the concentration and the air quality index in that particular area, and based on which this particular application will keep updated. We need not update anything manually. This data is being captured by the sensor, so it gets updated automatically. So if you see here, the last updated date was yesterday at 7 p.m., right? And if you see here, it is at this place, the air quality index, ozone air quality index is 31, and the concentration is 33. And if you see here, you can see the current air quality index, and even the forecast, and even for tomorrow also you can see the forecast. And you can also see whether you're in a good, the air quality is good or not. You'll be able to see the saturation limits, and you can also see like whether this is a risk zone for you to be there, or it is a non-risk zone. And you can also see the wind speed with respect to time. And you can also see what is the kind of population are there. And you can see like who are the workers that are at risk, who are currently living there, and who are exposed outside continuously. You can see like out of 170 workers, and 34.7% of the total workforce. And you can see like 20.1% of seniors are living in that area, and school aged people are 16.5%, and asthma patients are 2%. So which affects their health. If the air quality is more, these people cannot stay in that area, because uh, normally when the air quality is not good, the first affected people would be the asthma patients, and then the seniors, and the old age people, and then the children. So you have to prevent all these people or this population if the air quality is not good. But it would not be possible always to move all these people to a different location. So we have to environmental organizations are preparing strategies to find where the problem is. Now this is good, the air quality is good, there is no impact, or there is very little risk here. But where the pollution is more, the environmental organizations are taking these kind of applications and data into consideration, and they're going to prepare their strategy for tomorrow, like how they can prevent all this category of people, and how they can improve the air quality index, right? So let us see here. There we did not get the parameters PM2.5 and PM10 in Mexico area, but now here in California area, you have sensors which are capturing the other parameters also apart from ozone. You have this, and you can see earlier it was green, which means it is completely good, and you are good to be at that place. And if you see in California, there is a moderate risk here, and you can see the population here. And when you see there is a moderate risk, definitely the environmental consultants have to really study that particular area, why there was a moderate risk, why the air quality index is bad in that particular area, and how they can improve it. So this will not only improve the quality of the air, but if everything is good, and as you know, like California is has Silicon Valley and it has a lot of companies, people will start migrating to that area, and obviously they will have a lot of businesses like hotels, restaurants, houses, real estate. So when people start migrating to California, they will have a lot of business where the businesses will improve. And in order to achieve all that, this air quality index, I'm not just talking about only because of air quality index every business will succeed. I'm just telling you as an example, other industries will also be affected because of certain things. If air quality is very poor, definitely all these people will not stay there, they will always migrate from that place. And obviously the companies, they'll not have people, good people, they'll not be able to provide good jobs, right? And obviously uh, the performance of the organization will go low. So that is the reason. This is one kind of scenario which I have explained you, which is on air quality. So let us see some other application. Give me a minute, I'm opening the application. So that is one of the applications which we have seen is in GIS application on environment side. And this is one other application which is managing of droughts. So we need to understand where more droughts are occurring and where less droughts are occurring, and what kind of impacts it will have on our agriculture, and what is the kind of loss will be there if there are droughts in a particular area, and how the weather is impacting this. So we'll be able to study all this kind of disaster related information using the applications created in GIS. If you see here, you can see the symbology here. Where there is a dry condition or abnormally dry condition, it is light yellow in color. And whereas there are extreme conditions and exceptional conditions, you can see very dark red in color, like in San Francisco. And if you see here in Minneapolis, Iowa, or Wisconsin, you have dry weather conditions. And whereas you see here in San Francisco and Oregon, you have very high drought conditions in these areas, right? And if you see from this a particular application, you can, when you click here, so I've clicked on California. So you can see how the droughts have earlier, there were like very less number of droughts and completely the weather is dry. And when you see here over a period of years from 2000 till 2019 and 2021, if you see here at the end, there are more number of droughts that are occurring in California area. And if you especially observe here in 2014, from 2013 to till 2016, you have lot of drought occurring in particular California area. And these are like, when you click here, it will show you the map of 2013, and you can see there is less impact in this California area. And you can also see like the condition is very normal, and even it is not dry. But whereas now if you see the condition here, the drought is more in San Francisco area. And if you see here, all these areas are drought prone areas now. earlier in 2013 or in 2004, if you take, those are completely dry areas. So your weather is changing the conditions over there, and the people, they live in that particular area. So we can get all this kind of information, and this is also like the sensors, sensor information only will be having, so it will get updated automatically. And you can see here, so whether the drought is exceptional drought, or if you, because I have clicked here, so it is showing me in California area, but if I click here, it will not show any kind of drought because I have completely clicked on a white portion. And again, I'm going back and clicking in California area here. And you can see here, agricultural impacts, like there is a loss in the jobs, agricultural loss of 160, and there is a lot of total sales of whatever you can see here. And the livestock has been impacted, and the crops, if you want to take particular crops, because the sensors which they have fixed at that particular location is giving all this information. But if you have the sensor which can capture more information, you can get more details, and based on which there is this particular area, San Francisco and California areas, or drought prone areas, and proper measures has to be taken into consideration in order to reduce this drought, and in order to move all this back to the dry conditions or to normal conditions. Give me a second, I'm opening other application. So in the meantime, if you have any doubts and all, you can put it in the chat box, and I'll try to answer all your queries at the end of the session. I'm opening the application, just give me a minute. So I'm opening other application. So this is basically a water balance application, and this basically has is giving us information about the following layers. You can see it here: on soil moisture, snowpack, precipitation, evaporation, evapotranspiration, runoff, and change in storage. Let us suppose we will zoom into a location, and we'll see how this water balance is working, and we'll see how the water balance has changed over a period of time. So here we are seeing how the water pattern has changed over a period of time. Let us suppose I'll click here now. Okay, you can see here I have clicked here in this particular area near to the Salt Lake City, and you can see the precipitation in that particular areas, runoff, evapotranspiration, soil moisture, snowpack, and you can see like whether the water was depleted from the actual level or not. So you'll be able to see all this information right from 2000 till 2021. So if you see here, the water levels increase, the soil moisture has increased, and then over a period of time the water storage is getting reduced, and sometimes the water level increased, maybe because there are a lot of rains in that particular year. So you can see how it has been impacted and how it has changed. So this is about the water storage, you can see here, and in the similar fashion you can see here the trend in the moisture in that particular soil. If you have more water, you'll have more moisture content in that particular area. So how that is being impacted, and so if you see here in July 2021, this is the soil moisture content that is present in that particular area. And if you want to see the precipitation in the same area, it will give the precipitation in that particular area, and it will give you how the precipitation has changed over a period of time, and you can also see how the trend is. Initially you have very less, and over a period of time, like the precipitation increased, and now there is a sudden drop in the precipitation, and again there is a rise after 2020. So these kind of applications you can always create using your GIS, and you can understand what kind of problems we have and what kind of precautions do we need to take to control these kind of see. If you see here, there was a sudden rise and there was a sudden decrease in the precipitation. So you need to understand how we can control all these kind of measures and how we can improve the operational efficiencies in our areas. So if you have any doubts, you can unmute yourself and you can ask me queries.
Hello, madam.
These are certain applications which I've shown you, but there are a lot of other applications which you can take and which you can see.
We have seen some apps which are related to the science of environment, but could we see some apps which are related to emergency management or flood risk assessment and those kind of things which are used by everyday citizens? Just one app is good so that people can understand how GIS
Which kind
is
of
being used to
applications
do or
would you
resolve
like to
business
see?
process.
No, I'm asking you which kind of business, I mean, what kind of solutions would you like to see?
Just a citizen reporting app or a flood risk assessment app or some kind of app which everyday citizen can use.
Okay, I'll show you. One second, sir. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat window. I'll try to address that. I'm just trying to open the application.
Hello. I didn't catch you, sorry.
I'm opening the application, sir.
Yeah, even the damage assessment app is good.
Okay.
Any app which can be used in day-to-day work by any of the operational team member in a local government, that would be good.
Yeah, I'm just searching in my content to showcase it. One second.
So this is an organization account, Geosys organization online, RGS online account. And we have deployed this app in RGS online account.
Yes, sir. So this is 1 second, sir. It is still loading the application. I'll open my login and I'll show, sir. Other applications I'll show. So in the meantime, if you have any queries, you can ask me. I'll try to answer all your queries.
So Pawan has a question on using OpenStreetMap and open source technologies along with this RGS solutions. So let me answer that. So basically, you can use OpenStreetMap as long as it is available through the RGS or any open source APIs. You can pull that, and OpenStreetMap can be used as a base map. And even S3 people also provide OpenStreetMap as a base map. So you can, yes, Pawan, you can use OpenStreetMap. And that may lead us to another question where we are thinking like most of the S3 technologies are proprietary licensed. It is not the case. S3 also has some of the softwares and tools which are open source. Like for example, the GeoPortal, which is open source, and there is ArcGIS Explorer, which is again open source. So Esri also promotes open source to a certain extent.
Hello, man.
I'm opening the mobile application of this also, sir. The damage assessment.
So this app, let me give an introduction to this app. So this app is basically meant to assess the damage. So once the damage has occurred, there are lots of agencies or even the state and the federal government is interested to understand how much of damage has occurred and what is the compensation to be paid to the particular owners. So for that purpose, this damage assessment app is used by the local governments and the state governments.
So basically, this is like a damage assessment application, and any kind of public damage that you see on the roads, you'll be able to report it using the form that is created. This is also created using GIS only, and this is basically an incident report form where you will be filling up the details. So if you give the incident number, and you can say whether it is home or business or agriculture where the problem is, and you can actually give the location, and you can give the address name, or it automatically takes from the map itself, and then you select the state. And is there any member of the household affiliated with a federally recognized type? If you can give all this information, and once you submit this particular form, it will get reflected here in the like the damage report where it is submitted, and you can see that here. And once you see that particular damage here, and I'm opening the dashboard also, which will give us the status of incidents that are being submitted by the public. And all this can be seen here in a web application. And this is for the people who are GIS professionals, but for the managers or the decision makers, they'll be able to see all that information in the decision dashboard. As of now, there is no data. That is the reason everything is showing zero. But once you capture the information and submit it, you will be able to see how many cases are being registered in debris removal or in emergency protection, or how many roads and bridges damage assessment incidents are being recorded. So you'll be able to see all this information. I'll try to submit this information. So I'm just this form is created like with various attributes here. So I'm just giving all this information so that I can see like if that is reflecting there. So you can upload the photographs, and it is not mandatory, but one photograph it is asking us.
So this interface is available on the mobile. So the person who is reporting may be a citizen who wants to report a particular damage or an incident which has occurred very recently. Right, ma'am?
Yes, sir. That's right. I'm just saving an image to upload it over there.
You can select any image for now. Doesn't matter which image it is. Any photograph is fine. Even a logo is fine.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir.
Damage extent.
Mhm. 1 second. It's not supporting.
Any image
It
is
is
fine.
not taking the image.
Don't have to load a damage image itself. Any image is fine. That's for taking a picture. When you're on the mobile, that's for taking a picture, right?
Mhm. Yeah. I'm adding the image. 1 second.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So somebody has seen a house which is damaged and he has used his mobile application to submit a damage assessment damage report, and no. No, 1 second, sir. I have to use my account. Individual assistance. So basically, this is where like you create your application where you submit your report and it gets updated here. And then the same thing you will be able to see here on the dashboard. Just worrying why it is not shown.
No, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
I think we are over time. Let's focus. We have another event on Wednesday for the
Yeah.
GS day. So we'll focus on more operational related applications on that particular day.
Okay, sir.
Right. So I think the overall picture is like the citizen is reporting a damage or an incident, and the user agency, for example, if it's a municipal corporation or a state government, will be able to see that in this particular dashboard. And based on the severity of that particular incident or the event, they will be able to attend to that or try to resolve that particular incident. That is overall picture of this particular application. I think that's all, unless you have any other thing to add, Janaki ma'am.
No, sir. That's it.
So tell the participants, if you can tell the participants what are the next events, like as part of the Geography Awareness Week, we are conducting 2 more events.
Yeah.
If you can tell them, then they'll be registering and they'll be interested to know what's going on.
There are like 2 events in the coming week. One is on 17th Wednesday in the morning at 8 a.m. We have one GS Day celebration on Wednesday, and the other is on Saturday, which is on 20th at 8 a.m. So we'll be sending you a registration link for the registration to both the events, and you can register for the events.
And also regarding the feedback, so the feedback will be sent to you respectively. Please give us feedback. Unfortunately, there was less time for us to demonstrate this. We'll try to cover that in the next presentations on Wednesday or Saturday.
Yeah, okay.
Anil, please go ahead. You want to speak?
Yeah, actually, this is not related to technical. I wanted to ask what are the GA's opportunities for the next few months, because post-COVID, I think everything is getting it normal. Do we expect any private or public-oriented processes related to GAs? That's what I want. Opportunities in the sense, in general, I am asking. This is not technical.
Go ahead,
I
Janaki.
did not get your question. Is this Anil?
Yeah, madam. I wanted to ask that.
Yes, Anil. Can you repeat the question, please?
I wanted to ask what are the GA's opportunities for the next year or in coming future, because post-COVID, I think everything is getting into normal. Can we expect any big projects related to GA's in public or private sector? Opportunities in the sense big projects.
So I told you one example like business continuity.
Yeah.
After COVID-19, if businesses have to come back to a normal situation and if they have to operate back in the offices, they need to have some continuity planning,
Yeah.
like how to deploy the resources. internally. So you can use GIS for indoor mapping, and you can see like which person to be there on which date and at which place,
Yeah.
right? In order to enhance safety of the people who are coming to offices. At the same time, the commute or the travel, the mode of travel in which they are traveling, he will also be taken into consideration. And the second thing is like the last 2 years, most of the businesses were at loss, except the businesses which are virtually doing well. There are most of the businesses which are at losses, right?
Yeah.
So how you can, what kind of strategy do you need to follow with respect to location, right, in order to gain more profits, right? So it
Yeah.
is not like one single thing. There are like a lot of things which we can do, and every business is going to use GIS. Most of the businesses are going to use GIS for their business continuity applications, and then for their safety plans and for their planning.
Okay.
So apart from that, there are other projects also. Like once they are back, like they have a lot of projects which are related to like smart cities in India. If you say like there were a lot of projects on hold, and they were coming up with this drone policy where they wanted to do survey for entire India, right? And
Okay.
all these projects are back to GS. It is not just mapping at this point of time. People are looking at engagement. As I told you, it is not just going to be a system of record. It is, they're going to create various kinds of applications, maybe the citizen related applications or the business related applications, which will help them to solve their problems either internally, or it may help the citizens to make better decisions, or for the businesses also to make better decisions.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. So are there any other queries?
I think let's try to demonstrate a few of those apps next time when we have this Tech Talk on Wednesday. I think the Saturday's Tech Talk is more tuned to the environmental applications. So I don't know if we can fit this on Wednesday and see that the operational efficiency apps are demonstrated, a few of them. And I think most of our participants are from the Indian region. So let's try to focus on something which is applicable to our country here, if possible.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Right? We'll try to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all.